board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyers. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderman Page. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Balmer. Alderman Stevens. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Boyd. President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyers. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderman Stevens. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Boyd. 21 present. You have quorum.
Quorum being present, we are blessed today to have with us our very own John Watson Jr. from Maple Temple to lead us off in prayer. Reverend Watson.
We'll ask those that would join us to stand, those of you that are by Zoom. I'm going to quote from the Holy Scriptures, St. Matthew 5:14. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Gracious God, Heavenly Father, as we start a new day, we acknowledge you are great and gentle toward us. You forgive our sins and stabilize us with the undying hope. For these daily renewal of your mercies, we give you thanks. As we meet and collaborate to progress our community and city, release us from evil desires, cleanse our hearts from all inordinate affections, draw our hearts closer to yours, so that our love for what is good and pure would increase daily. Teach us the courage of patience, the strength of endurance, and the real power and value of self-restraint. Now, Father, bless the hands of all those who have rolled up their sleeves to make this city and community a better place to live, work, and worship. Into your hands we commit ourselves, our family, our community. Amen.
Let's give Reverend Watson a big round of applause and thank you. We appreciate him. He's been volunteering for this board for years and years and years, and I appreciate you and thank you for continuing to take out your Friday mornings to come here and make sure we start our meetings off right. Thank you again. Under special order of the day, just so that we have staff so that we can operate, we're going to take up resolution number 2 under agenda item 20, because we need a clerk and attorneys to operate. Alderman from the 10th, recognize on resolution number 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt resolution number 2.
You want to request unanimous consent?
Request unanimous consent.
Object to unanimous consent for hiring of the staff for the. Yes.
So,
This is just a temporary hiring of staff.
okay.
Just a hiring of
That's
staff.
all.
Yeah.
I withdraw my objection.
All right. All right. So, Alderman from the 10th, record. The Alderwoman from the 1st had just arrived, so she know where we were on the agenda yet. So, Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on resolution number 2, hiring of staff.
So I once again request unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection to unanimous consent, would you like to make the motion for the adoption of resolution number 2?
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt resolution number 2.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th and seconded by the Alderman from the 14th. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 2. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderman Page. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Balmer. Alderman Stevens. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Boyd. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderman Stevens. 25 aye vote.
By a vote, you stay in the motion, Alderman from the 10th, and adopted resolution number 2. Introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 23rd.
As always, I would like to have my good friend Greg Meyer as my honored guest, and I would also like to include Dave Sweeney, who's sitting up in the gallery, and Mark from the Post.
All right. Welcome all. Alderman from the 8th. Hold on a second.
Are we
There you go.
there? Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would like to have as my special guest this morning the members of SEIU Healthcare up in the gallery. Thank you for our healthcare workers who have done so much through this pandemic to keep us and our loved ones safe. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome to them. Any further introductions? Alderman from the 1st.
I'm getting used to this now.
Yeah.
I'd like to have as my special guest my secretary, Erica Strong, who when I woke up in the middle of the night had resigned and is going over to SLDC. So that's why I objected to anybody having any staff, because now I don't have a neighborhood improvement specialist or a secretary. So misery loves company, so I didn't want anybody to have any staff here. But I want to tell you that she's a great person, and we're going to miss her, and I want her to be my special guest today.
All right. Excellent. And congratulations to Erica, because I hear that is a big promotion she's gotten, and she's well deserved. Any other introductions? Alderman from the 10th like to wrap us up?
And thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We're gathered here on April 19th. On this day in 1775, the shot heard around the world as the Revolutionary War started in Concord, Lexington. But more importantly, this is National Garlic Day. So please come down to the Hill and celebrate in the 10th Ward. There's plenty of garlic down there, and then go home and sleep on the couch. Thank you.
All right. All right. Sorry, I almost missed that one. Approval of the minutes.
We have none.
Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the aldermen's mailboxes.
We dispense with line items 7 through 19. First reading of resolutions.
Resolution 1, sponsored by President Reed and Alderman Boyd, Board of Aldermen Rules.
Alderman from the 20, you ready? All right, cool. Alderman from 22nd, you recognize on the first reading resolution number 1.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for adoption. I move for unanimous consent.
There's been an objection to unanimous consent. So now you can just go on and for discussion, and then that may change depending on what happens.
Okay, Mr. President, members of the board, resolution number 1 is the adoption of the 2022 through 2023 legislative session on how we govern ourselves at the Board of Aldermen.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on resolution number 1? Because remember, resolutions, we can dive into it without having the motion, but without the sponsor bringing the motion right away. So. Okay.
I want to speak to what's in the actual rules themselves. So if I'm at the wrong time, I will wait until at a proper time. I'm not objecting to us bringing up the rules. I'm objecting to the rules itself.
Okay, because what we're going to have
I'll
is...
withdraw my objection.
Okay, perfect. Because what we're going to do is there's a whole list of items that we're working on, and I think we can get through those hopefully in the next couple weeks and move them all as a bank. So it'll come all through as a bank. All right? All right, thanks, Alderman. Any further discussion? Alderman from the 20, or you just standing there? Or yes, did you want to be recognized? Oh, I didn't know you were facing Lisa. I didn't want to call on you when you were facing.
It's the microphone next to me. It's too high. So enjoy a microphone that suited my height.
Okay.
No, Mr. President, I appreciate you calling on me. I was just asking I was wondering if the alderman from the 22nd would yield, or maybe perhaps we could just have a quick discussion on the rules as to whether or not there are any substantive changes from last session. It would be helpful just to kind of know as we consider these before us.
All right.
Just as a point of information.
Excellent. Alderman from the 22nd, will yield the question to the Alderman from the 20th.
Yes.
All right. Please proceed, Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Really, thank you, Alderman. I was just curious if you could let us know whether or not there are any substantive changes or any changes at all from the rules that we had in last session.
There have been no changes since the last time the Rules Committee met to make a change.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Yeah, and just as a point of reference, there are some changes that the clerk's recommending, so we're going to be taking all of those things up in a bank of changes and bringing them back, and the Rules Committee will be handling those across the next few weeks. Yeah. Alderman from the first.
Then a point of clarification, point of order. So we're going to be bringing them back to change them. We're going to need 20 votes at that point to change them. And if we adopt our rules as it is today, we need 15 votes to adopt our rules. And so my point of what I want to discuss is something that needs at least 15 votes and not 20. So that's what I want, what my objection, and I want to be able to bring. I do not want it to take 20 votes. I want it to take 15 votes. I want to make sure that we are clear about that.
Yes, and that is a rule, right? That's a rule.
Correct.
So as part of the changes in the rule, that may be one of the things that comes forward also.
Okay,
But still.
if it comes forth later at 20, I'm going to be a little upset because right now. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Would you like, Alderman from the first, I don't want to discourage you from moving forward. Oh, okay. All right. We can, because we can,
feel very well all
Oh,
of a
that's
sudden.
all right.
Okay. I was coming here with a one-word removal in our rules, which was to remove the word continuous in before seniority. I've been talking about this for a while now, and I was hoping that we did not have to go to court, but I am now, and I'm going to do it because that's a word that was put into effect that affects me and my community, because this Board of Aldermen 20 years ago affected me and my community. They violated the charter. They violated the Voting Rights Act. They moved my ward. They took away our right to vote. And so there was nothing that we did wrong. It's everything that this chambers did wrong in 2020. The president has admitted, pretty much you all don't know this, but under the last redistricting, they put all of the 20th ward back together. What they did was really wrong. And I've been here talking about it. So there's no way that my community could get continuous seniority, or I. I didn't lose. Nobody could beat me. I didn't quit. This board violated my rights. And every time you put continuous seniority back in your rules, you're violating my right and that of my community. Now, there was a former alderperson who said to me, why didn't you just move down to what they now call the 20th ward? Because even if I moved and kept my seniority, my community didn't keep my seniority, which is what you're supposed to get when you keep electing your same person. And that's what my community had done, and that's what it's done. And so I'm asking this board to take that out. Last time I brought it, a couple of years ago, I did a real fancy kind of amendment, and it was because I didn't want everybody to come back and be able to say, I came back who had quit. Because I understand the rule behind continuous seniority if you've quit or you lost. But I don't, and I still don't understand continuing discrimination when this board has broken the law. And I'm not going to put up with it anymore. Nobody can tell me how my community, 2/3 of it, who we can never get our right to vote back. You don't know that. If you lived in your house for 30-something years and it comes up and you win in 1999 I think I beat my nearest opponent by 1,200 votes. I didn't lose population. The 20th ward was one of the highest voting wards in the city. My particular precinct was the highest Democratic ward in the city, and during all those years, before they tore the ward up, we were one of the top 2 or 3 voting wards in the city. So what you also did is depress my vote. I invite all of you all, because I took pictures when I left, to see what my community looked like before they divided it up to 5 or 6 wards, and there's nothing positive that happened under that. But the most evil thing that this board did in 2001 was to violate our right to vote, to take away our right to vote. That didn't have to be. And it shows, it'll be real easy in court to show they were not trying to redistrict. Because if they were, they could have said, put the 1st ward into the 20th ward, left it there, we would all got to vote. The 1st ward would have got to vote, but they didn't do that. That was something else they were doing. And the former mayor at that time was Francis Slay, who goes around there whining and saying, well, we offered Sharon Tyus a deal. I don't have to take a deal about my right to vote. I have 2 United States constitutional amendments that gave me and my community the right to vote. If you're a black female, it took 2. I also have a Missouri Constitution, U.S. Constitution, that guarantees me the same equal rights as everybody else. We have a charter that says if you live in your house every 4 years, you got a right to vote. All those things were violated. And the only way we address it in any kind of way that says, hey, we know we did something wrong, besides putting it back, is that you have to take that word continuous out. Now that will affect, I believe, 6 people. But those 6 people only have that seniority because my right to vote and my community's right to vote was violated. Now, if you say, well, we didn't do anything, and you didn't do anything to have seniority over me either. Yes, that was done under another board, but it was done illegally, and you're also had the benefits of having this seniority that really was not fair. So I'm asking for this board today. We've been addressing things about how we're going to do reparations. I'm not even asking for reparations, because what I'm asking for is you go back and take out the very word that continues the discrimination that was done 20 years ago. Why does it matter 20 years ago? Because I'm still sitting here. I'm still standing here. My community sent me back when they could. And so you do not get to continue to discriminate against me and my community, or to have a law that says continuous seniority that we're not able to obtain. We're not able to do it because this board made it impossible. If I moved to what they call the 20th ward, my community still didn't get it. If I stayed, me and my community still didn't get it. You made up a law that's only for us. And in the court of equity, you don't go for money. You go for what is right and fair and equal. And that is not right, fair, equal, and it's unlawful that was done. This past term, today we have an election for the 28th Ward alderperson. I'm rooting for Mike, okay, because he's a Democrat and I'm a Democrat. But when he called me and he watched the hearings and he told me about that he agreed with me, but he also told me that he was friends with certain people on this board. And maybe in the last few months I haven't gotten along with that well. It didn't make any difference to me. I didn't know Mike. I knew that our charter said that it was supposed to be a partisan election. The Democrat on the Board of Elections was trying to make it a nonpartisan, because after we made it a partisan election and they had to change their position at the Board of Election, they filed a black female as a as a Republican nominee, because she couldn't be nonpartisan. I don't care who Mike was. I don't care if Mike was my arch enemy. Our laws have to be fair to everyone. Continuous seniority is not a fair thing. It was not done. You've heard me raise a lot of saying with the president about his vote. I don't think the president understood what he was doing at that time. I know he doesn't. We've had a lot of conversations, and we've been able to repair our relationship, and I think we work very well together now. But that was a wrong, illegal, discriminatory vote. And to keep it in place is to say that's all right if we discriminate, not just against me, but against 2/3 of my community that this board already discriminated against 20 years ago and has continued. They deserve for me to have my seniority. There's nobody here who served longer than me, including the president, and that is wrong to leave continuous in there and to continue to discriminate. I haven't lobbied a lot of people, because you're going to have to look at your own moral compass of what is right and what is wrong. I want to say that some of the people I haven't been getting along with, but they were my supporters. I haven't forgot that. They were my supporters when some of the people who I have been working with were not. I think a lot of you who were not were trying to cover up for wrongdoing that the president had not come to, I think, terms with, that what he did was wrong, okay? And what this whole board did, except for 11 very brave souls, including the clerk, both he and I voted no against this. So I stand up here today to ask you to do the right thing, to take continuous seniority out of our rules, because since that time, we've now gone to this nonpartisan thing, and we have changed the rules for people who ran as independents and then became Democrats. So I sit here, the only person who did nothing wrong, did not run against the Democratic rules, stayed where I lived, represented a ward, showed you how you could be successful in North St. Louis, built up things, but yet I'm still being discriminated against in my community. It is time to stop. Please take that word, continuous seniority, out of every place in our rules and let it be by seniority. And I will, by far, be the person been here the longest, and my community will get another step toward righting the wrong that was done.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Alderman, you ready? Alderman from, yeah, I know. I'm trying to wait till people get ready, because you have the thing to put over the mic, or you're going to do it with your mask on? All right, go ahead. Alderman from 25th.
Alderwoman, did you make a motion, or are you making a motion? May I inquire of the alderman or alderwoman from the first ward, please?
Yeah, Alderman from the first, we'll yield the question to the Alderman from the 25th.
I will. I didn't, but I planned to, and I can now. If that's appropriate. If not, I'll get back up and make the motion.
I mean, it seems like it would be an appropriate time since we're discussing the
Well,
resolution.
now, she doesn't have the floor to make the motion, but when you sit down and if there's some other discussion, she may want to make the motion. I think
That
she was still
concludes my
contemplating.
questions for the alderwoman of the first ward, but I would recommend, obviously, that you make the motion, and certainly I've supported it in the past, and I would do so again today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman, hold on first. I think the Alderwoman from the 14th was up first. The Alderwoman from.
I have a question, but let her make her motion,
All
and
right.
then we can
Alderwoman
have a discussion.
from the first. Try it now.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that in our rules that we strike the word continuous in front of seniority out of every place in our rules. And I think it's only 3 places.
All right. It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the first, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. That we strike the word continuous out of our rules where it refers to seniority. Alderwoman from the 19th.
President, members of the board, I stand here with some need to even take this a little bit further. If we are going to do this, it needs to be looked at in a retro form. And I say that because we have not done it for others who came and left and came back. Some have retired who were in that position. And it would improve their retirement if we went back and gave them the seniority that we didn't give them when they were gone. So we need to look at all fairness, not just some, but all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the Alderman from the first yield.
Alderwoman from the first will yield to the Alderman from the 22nd. Please proceed, Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you. Yeah, we have talked about this before, and I'm certainly empathetic with what happened back in the day. But did this ever go to court? The redistricting of 2001?
No, it didn't go to court, but every time you pass this continuing seniority, you renew it. I didn't carry it over here again. It's going to go to court now because I'm going to walk right over to the Court of Equity, and I will. The redistricting itself is illegal. Read our charter. If you live in your spot, every 4 years, you get to vote. I got elected again in 1999. So in 2003, if we had not done an illegal redistricting, we would have got to vote. That's illegal under our charter. It's illegal for you to have rules that discriminate against not only me, but my community. That whole thing was illegal. And the former mayor talks about, we tried to offer her a deal. I don't have to make a deal about, am I a woman? Am I black? Do I have a right to be treated the same way under the Constitution, U.S., state, or the charter, or our rules? I have a right, and my community does. If you could show me a way that my community and I would have had the same right as everybody else, then I wouldn't be standing here. You know I'm a fair person. It didn't have to go to court. What I'm telling you is that was done wrong. It was wrong. It was illegal. I went and I didn't even get some of it so much because I got sick after they had done it, because I could not believe that as hard as I had worked and turned my community around so that the community that had been losing population was not, that all around me, your ward lost 4,000 and some people. The 4th ward lost 4,000 and something people. The 21st ward lost 3,000 and something people. The 18th ward lost 3,000, the 1st ward, but the 20th ward did not. Who thinks that's a good idea to destroy and tear up something like that? And bringing up that point about if it went to court, it ain't going to court today when you're trying to leave that as a continuous seniority. What I'm talking about is right and fairness. We talk about in the caucus all the time about right and fairness. Well, I know you want to keep your seniority. So you and the 6 people in front of me say, well, we didn't do that. Reparations, the people who we talked to about reparations also didn't do that. But the benefit of it, You have a seniority because you're the benefit of something that was done racist and illegal against my community. Well, I asked the president if what they did was wrong. He's now found out more about what redistricting was about. It is not about trying to scare an alder person into saying, okay, I'll do this and go along with you just because I'm scared. I am not scared. I demand my equal rights. So I thought that if I came back here and talked to you all about the fact of what it feels like to sit in your house in 2003 and not be able to vote, not be able to run for office because a bunch of people did a wrong thing, illegal thing, that you all would want to do the right thing. I understand you 6 people before me don't want to lose your seniority, but you only have it because they did the wrong thing. So it is up to you and your own conscience if you're going to be for this or not. But whatever, if you needed to be in court for the courts to tell you this is wrong, then that's what's going to happen. I am not going to stand 1 minute longer and lose my seniority for my community because somebody violated all of our rights. And you've been in office now for 18 years, and I can give any one of you all an example. We just had to run again last year, and they made it for everybody. They didn't say some of you all. If they had done it for some of you all could be sitting in my very same position. And I want to also address the alderwoman from the 19th saying if people came back, if their seniority, that would be better for their retirement. That's not true. It does not affect your retirement at all. That is not true. It would not be better for anything. And we already have changed the rules. The rules said if you ran as an independent, you did not get to have any seniority. We've already changed the rules for them. They didn't run as Democrats. I never left the Democratic Party. I don't to this day. I reject that I'm an independent. I am a Democrat. So we changed the rules for people who challenged and broke our rules. But we stand here, instead of this chamber saying to me and my community, we were wrong, not me personally, but the Board of Aldermen. That's what systemic racism is. That's what when you do things wrong are. So we're going to try to make up for every little bit we can. And part of that is that I am the most senior alderman. There's not one person in here who served longer than me. But I don't have the statute, not because it's something I did, because every last other person who left, they left or they got beat. That is not what happened in this case. The Board of Aldermen took that right away from me and my community, and the Board of Aldermen ought to put it back.
Let me ask you this, Alderwoman. Certainly you have probably more experience with redistricting than myself, but there had been a precedence that was set when the 25th Ward was moved from the Central West End to South St. Louis, correct?
Yes.
And that was accepted, right? So what is the difference?
Because the 25th Ward got to run for office. So even though they moved it down there, the 25th Ward constituents, which became the 28th, he got to run for office, and so did his community got to vote.
Can't hear you. Can't hear
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
please talk into the mic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what happened, I used to live in that ward when it got done, okay? But we all got to vote because whenever they've done anything like that before.
Alderwoman, we still can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just hot. So what happened is, I'll be okay. What happened is, and I can, is that, so when they redistrict it, they didn't make it so they couldn't vote. And that's all they had to do in this case. They could have left the 20th Ward alone, put part of the 1st Ward if that's what was needed, which wasn't in it. The 1st Ward people would have got to vote, and so with the 20th Ward. But they specifically made it an odd number, knowing that 2/3 of my ward could not vote. And that is the big difference right there. And could not run for office. He also was able to run for office because they made sure that that happened.
If there's a redistricting done and 2 aldermen get placed in the same ward and 1 alderman only has 20% of the original ward, excuse me, would that mean 80% of the people that's not with that alderperson again were disenfranchised with their votes?
That is why when you do redistricting, one of the things that we had all around originally before all this craziness, you would have even and odds. So when you move numbers, you move the evens into the evens and the odds into the odds. So what I am talking about did not happen. That's what happened in the past, okay? I feel like I'm talking to you with my back. That's why I keep turning around, okay? Thank you. I appreciate it, thank you. So what happened was they would put, like, they could have, if they really wanted to tear up the 20th ward, they could have put the 20th ward into the 4th, the 22nd, the 18th. They didn't do that because nobody could beat. So they did something else that was not a redistricting. And the only way you do that was to violate the law. If they really, that's what they said they needed to do, that's what should have been done. The odds go into the odds and the evens go into even, and that's what had been an occurrence.
And you'd have been okay with that. For example.
No, I wouldn't have been okay, but I would have been able to run. I wouldn't be sitting here saying I couldn't vote or anything. You wouldn't have violated my right to vote. You understand what I'm saying? If you had put the even numbers in with the 22nd, the 4th, the 18th.
Yeah, but some of your comment had to do with tearing up your ward. And so, for example, if the 22nd and the 20th have been placed in the same ward, but only 20% of the 20th ward was combined into the new ward, then you would still have the same scenario. A lot of your people wouldn't be able to vote for you.
And that would have been wrong. Not for vote for me. See, you hear vote for me.
Vote, okay.
Vote.
But people were able to vote.
No, they were not. You don't understand that, do you?
No, can you help me understand that?
Here's what, okay. So if they did redistricting, instead of me, they did the 22nd ward.
Which they should have.
They should have, but I don't even get into that. So then they put that 22nd ward into odd numbers and put it into 27th, let's say that. And you had just run in 1999, because that's when we all ran even. And then in 2001, they put you in the odd number. When 2003 came, guess what? You wouldn't have been able to vote in your community because they put you in an odd number instead of an even number. You don't understand that?
I mean, you would be able to vote during that cycle, when your cycle comes up.
Your
you
cycle.
Would not be able to vote in the old ward.
No, your cycle is every 4 years. Under the charter, everybody has a right to vote for alderman every 4 years, except for what we just did this time. And what we did this time, they didn't just say some of you all. They made the whole Board of Aldermen vote again, okay? Because under what I just told you, if they had put the 22nd ward into the 27th ward, so if you ran in 1999, your next cycle to vote would have been 2003. You understand that? But in 2003, you wouldn't have been able to vote.
Gotcha. It's actually been 19 years for me this month. And I've learned a lot about politics since I've been down here. And in my mind, what I saw happening was more of a political chess move, because you're right, they were not able to beat you in the 20th ward. So the only way to beat you would to be able to shift that ward somewhere else, which was strategically, politically, that was a shrewd move.
It was not. It was an illegal move.
But you're a lawyer, and a smart lawyer, and I appreciate that. But we're not in a court of law. If it had gone to court and the court said, hey, that was illegal, then we would be obligated to go back and right or wrong, right? But it did not go to court. We're only going by your word that it was illegal. It wasn't fair, and I think there's a difference between illegal and unfair. And of course, you know what I always say about being a lawyer, but that's my thought, you know.
No, you don't just have my word. I want to disagree with you. Look at the charter. Look at the charter. It says you get to run every 4 years and you get to vote every 4 years. That's not my word.
I think this is...
I understand.
Mr. President, a procedural question.
Yes.
Because I feel that this resolution needs to go to committee for further discussion so that we can have, so the alderwoman can bring all the text and all the, documentation to justify that this was illegal. And would it be appropriate to move that the resolution goes to the Rules Committee?
Yeah, we can make the motion to refer resolution number 1 to Rules. And just so I want to be in fair disclosure to everybody, what I think what I would like to do, I want to work to see what we can do to restore your seniority, right? So across this time, when it's in committee with all the other changes that we have to make, we would look at that as a package of changes that we need to make and see where we can get with everything.
Suggestion, Mr. Chairman? Mr. President, could we just operate under the old rules, knowing that we will go forth and look at this holistic? Because I'll bring all the, I'll show the aldermen and all of you all, you already know the charter requires us. So you know this, you and I've had this. And you know the Constitution gives everybody the right for equal. So all of this is good.
I'm up to speed on all of it.
So as long as we just operate and we're not making these our rules for right now, I'm good.
Absolutely perfect. Motion to refer, to finish the answer with you, Alderman, from the 22nd. A motion to refer is always in order. So
Mr. President, I'd like to move that resolution number
1.
Correct. Yes, resolution number 1 is referred to the Rules Committee.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Refer resolution number 1 to rules.
So noted. Resolution 3, sponsored by President Reed and Alderwoman Davis, printing of the journal.
Alderwoman from the 19th, you recognize on the... I'll wait. Sorry, Tom made that.
I'm okay. Yes, sir.
We
Mr. President, members of the board, I ask for unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, please proceed, Alderwoman.
We have resolution number 3.
Yep.
I move that we adopt those resolution number 3.
Moved by the Alderman from the 19th and seconded by the Alderman from the 27th and somebody else over here. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 8th.
I'll give you a second. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just had a quick discussion point on this that a number of us, I think, request not to have the printed journal placed in our mailbox.
I can't. I'm sorry. You're cutting out. Yeah.
The mic's not on.
Yeah. There we go.
The mic's not on.
Can you hear me? There we go.
Yes.
All right. So this will be the designated short alderperson mic back here. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. My only question about this is, or maybe just a flag that we can hopefully request from the registrar. A number of us have requested not to receive printed copies of the journal, and I still get them. I've gotten them for all 3 of my years, and I request every time not to do that. So I'd like to reduce that cost. So if there's a way that we can encourage the registrar to not print, or maybe have an opt-in system.
Absolutely. We can do that, and we can also look at that with some of the other changes we're bringing forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 3. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 4, sponsored by President Reed and Alderman Vaccaro, aldermanic and mailing expenses.
Alderman from the 23rd.
I would ask for unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, please proceed, Alderman.
This is always my favorite one, so I know I'm supposed to ask to hear it and be done, but this is the one always about the stamps. And I always felt we should have a mailing, like be able to go to a post office. I mean, because it's so much cheaper than getting all these stamps. But having said that, I would ask that we pass this, but hopefully we can get down to figuring out, this is that expense account. I really think personally, and everybody will go, oh my God, but I personally think the stamps should be added to our expense account so that we can actually go to a company to do mailings versus, which is half the cost of whatever. But anyway, I would ask for your favorable consideration on
All right, it's been moved. by the
Resolution
Alderman
number
from the
4.
23rd that we adopt resolution number 4. It's been seconded by the Alderman from the 27th and Alderman from the 21st. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the extent of first reading of resolutions.
Second reading.
We have none.
Miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
We have none.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to invite everyone out today. Urban League is opening its Women's Empowerment Center in the Old Commerce Bank branch at Natural Bridge and Newstead Avenue today at 3 o'clock. A press conference will be taking place, and I want to invite the members of the board to join us if they're available. That's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 14th.
I'd like to announce that the 1st District Police Association is holding a public safety meeting on Thursday, the 21st, at St. John the Baptist Parish Hall at 4200 Delore. It is sponsored by the Newport Heights Association. We will discuss public safety and ways to keep our neighborhoods safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would like to announce St. Louis Earth Day Festival is returning this year. The theme is We Are Interconnected, and it's Saturday, April 23rd, and Sunday, April 24th, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the Muni Grounds. Muni Grounds is a free event at Forest Park. The theme is to educate and empower the regional community for greater action toward a more sustainable future. And I took notes so I can make sure I said this right, because this is a really important event that hasn't gone on now for 2 years due to the pandemic. So I'm excited that it's going to be back open. And I have to send a special shout out to the Collective STL, which I am the Collective's Outer Lady too. They will be doing yoga on the community stage. So go visit earthday-365.org. That's earthday-365.org, and bring your family out this weekend. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman from the 27th.
Hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I just want to announce the 27th Ward have their safety committee meeting tonight, and they are doing an education and demonstration on gun safety for the residents. And so it's not just about giving out the locks, it's showing people how to lock their guns. And so we're taking a very serious look at our children that are being murdered in our city. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 22nd, do you mind if I go to the Alderman from the 19th first? Alderman from the 19th.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to announce that tomorrow, our fraternity that is new to the 19th Ward has bought a building at Bell and Garrison. Tomorrow they're going to do a cleanup and an introduction to community. So they will be staged in Chambers Park, directly across the street from their building. They'll be there from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. with lots of information and many things challenging that need to be resolved in the neighborhood, signing people up for committees and engaging young people to do STEM. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We'll get it right today. The HUD's committee is having a town hall on Saturday at 10 a.m. That's Saturday, April the 23rd at St. Stephen's Catholic Church at 3949 Wilmington Avenue. We had a really good turnout at the O'Fallon Recplex on the 9th of April. Looking forward to a good turnout this Saturday. The more the merrier to come. I think it was very educational and people got a lot out of it. And I was really inspired by the participation that we got the first time around. So I'm even more excited about Saturday. Thank you.
All right, Eric. Thanks. Any further announcements? I have to get used to that desk. It's almost at the door. Okay, yeah, please proceed, Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Test, test, test. And thank you, Ms. Lisa, for manning these microphones as we return back to the chambers. We are seeing across the nation as we return to normalcy, and I presume across the world, an increase in suicides, particularly on college campuses. St. Louis has not been untouched by this growing crisis. So, as someone who themselves has struggled with suicide and suicidal ideation, to everyone in our gallery, in the galley rather, to everyone here, and to anyone that might be watching this, I just want to remind everyone that it is okay not to be okay. That you being here means a great deal, at least to me, and I am sure I speak for all of us here at the Board of Aldermen, that you being here means a great deal to all of us. And to remind everyone that the National Suicide Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. It is always okay not to be okay, but we cannot come back from a suicide. So please, please, please know that there is a legislative body and a legislative branch here that cares very deeply about you, and that you do matter, and it is okay not to be okay. So sorry to bring it down. Oh, I'm not so loud as my colleagues from the 28th or the 25th and all the others, but I think I communicate the message. So
Absolutely. He said it's okay not to be okay. So thank you. Thank you, Alderman from the 12th. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to move that we name this a Steve Conway Memorial Microphone.
That's about where he stood.
It will permanently stay this height for as long as City Hall is open. Thank you.
All right.
Steve didn't have the advantage of the heels that the female aldermen do. So.
Yeah. Got to take a vote on that.
Like a bronze plaque.
Yeah, the second.
All right, I move that we excuse the alderman from the 3rd Ward for necessary absence.
Moved by the alderman from the 10th, entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the alderman from the 23rd, the 4th, and or somebody else over there. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No! Didn't hear anything. Some people need to learn to speak up. By your voice vote, motion carries. Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, you sound like you've been talking to a cat up there.
No.
I move that we adjourn to Friday, April 29th, 10 a.m. in chambers.
Moved by the alderman from 10th, seconded by the alderman from 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. We stand adjourned.